today that I think are just going to be a great way to engage and learn a bit more about how you can be involved in Farm to School in your community. So we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, so welcome to our second all-network meeting for 2023. Thank you for giving up part of your day to join us. We are thrilled to have you here. It's great to see some familiar faces and names, and this meeting will be recorded. So if you know of someone who is not able to make this meeting, please look for this on our website, and it'll also come out in an additional or follow-up email, as well as the presentations. For those of you who were not able to attend back in March, I would like to formally introduce myself to you. My name is Brianna Good, and I'm the Farm to School Coordinator here at the Indiana Department of Health within the Division of Nutrition and Physical Activity. And I am proud to lead and serve the Indiana Grown for Schools Network and share my passion for education, agriculture, and community with all of you. So thank you for being here today. We are going to go ahead and start by doing participating in a poll. So with this poll, you will see a map located up here on the PowerPoint that has different regions. And with this poll, you're going to select which region you are a part of. That way, when we have our breakout rooms a little bit later in the meeting, you will be able to collaborate with those who are in your designated region. So I'm going to go ahead and put the poll here. I think you should see it shortly here in the chat. And it may just pop up on your screen as well. If you do not see it, just let me know.
Mine says you don't have permissions to view the poll. Is that just me?
Okay. Good to know. Let's see here. See, we can always come.
It's in
you
the
see
chat.
It? Okay. Okay. Whew. I was a little nervous there. So for those of you who are just joining us, we are doing a poll, and it should be found in the chat. Anyone has trouble viewing that, just you can either come off mute or drop in the chat that you're having trouble seeing it. So. It looks like some people, I'll give you a few more minutes. And I think that should stay live for just a few minutes. From Southeast, okay. If it's easier for you to just put your region in the chat, that is totally fine as well. It could be something with Microsoft Teams, those who have access and who don't. So thank you for your patience. I appreciate it. All right. And so while you're doing that, we're going to go ahead and get started. That jumped a little too far ahead. Here we go. All right. So today's agenda is full. It's exciting. We are going to be learning about the Indiana Grown for Schools Network, our mission and vision, and how we can support your farm to school efforts. We will also be learning about Farm to ECE learning collaborative opportunities and resources that are available to our ECE providers in different regions of the state. We also are going to be gaining a better understanding of how place-based learning can provide authentic, relevant, and applied learning opportunities for students in your community. And last but not least, you will have an opportunity to learn who is in your region and how you might collaborate, plan, implement, and engage students in their communities through farm to school place-based learning. So I hope you were just as excited as I am. So we're going to go ahead and get started with kind of just a background on what the Indiana Grown for Schools Network is. Our network main goal is to expand and strengthen programming to increase local food served in the schools, create or sustain school gardens, and incorporate nutrition education in the classroom. This support is done by providing different resources and opportunities to collaborate, as well as providing technical assistance and funding opportunities. So if you didn't know, in just a few days, we are going to be celebrating the National Farm to School Month. Every October, National Farm to School Month is celebrated by the National Farm to School Network in all 50 states. This year's Farm to School Month theme is Rooted in Community. We're growing stronger together. So I invite you and others across the other organizations in the state to recognize the importance of Farm to School through different activities, lesson plans, local food, and lots of fun. So the Indiana Grown for Schools Network will have 4 themed weeks during the Farm to School month, and these are highlighting the different pillars of Farm to School and student engagement. So we invite you to submit photos representing any of these weekly themes. The first week, we will celebrate the school garden harvest. This allows you to celebrate opportunities, successes, and even challenges that you've had with your school garden with others in our network. So if you submit your photos, maybe you can have a little blurb that shares a little bit about what you were able to do in your school garden so that we can share it with others in the network. During week 2, we will be celebrating how you incorporated agriculture and nutrition education in the classroom through our Classroom Connections theme. During week 3, we will celebrate our school lunch heroes and highlight the importance of local foods used in schools and the people who are so eager to provide them. And last but not least, we will celebrate our early childhood education as an ideal stage to introduce children to Farm to School. So our different providers throughout the state, I want you to be encouraged to share what you're doing, whether you are in a school or in home setting. So we invite you to submit these photos representing any of the weekly themes, and you can submit photos by visiting the link that's provided on our website under News, and there's Farm to School month, I think is what the topic is. So I can add that link to the follow-up email as well. Another couple of ways that you can get involved in Farm to School month are the Indiana Apple Crunch and Indiana Food Day. Indiana Apple Crunch is a celebration that is provided by the Indiana Department of Education's Office of Nutrition Programs and Purdue Extension. Throughout the month of October, you can crunch into a locally grown Indiana apple to celebrate and share pictures of videos that your students and staff are crunching into. You can also register for different stickers and resources that are available on a first-come, first-served basis. You can also get involved in Indiana Food Day. The Indiana Department of Education is excited to celebrate proteins for the 2023 Indiana Food Day, and school authorities can celebrate any month of or any day of the month during the month of October. If you are having a Farm to School month celebration, feel free to let us know. I think I'm going to be out and about at 3 different locations next week, celebrating with them. And I know that our team at Indiana Department of Education is also eager to get out and really showcase the great work that's happening across the state. So happy Farm to School month early, and I hope to see a lot of engagement this year. Another program or resource that I would like to share with you from the Indiana Grown for Schools Network is our Farm to School Recognition Program. This is a marketing-based program for Indiana qualifying entities. So our K-12 schools will receive certifications by individual school buildings, and they will not receive them by corporations. So this allows you to showcase different projects that are happening within the different pillars of Farm to School. And all qualifying entities can apply for 1 or more badges at a time. So if your school is implementing a school garden, but you are not engaged necessarily in local procurement, that's okay. Go ahead and apply, and we'll support you through that application process. So full recognition will be received when all 3 badge requirements are met. And this is just such a great way to showcase to communities, families, and future residents that the great things that are happening in your school as you receive these different badges. We also have some pretty cool prizes that can be sent out, or incentives that can be sent out as you celebrate. I should have had those with me today. But there's some pens and pencils, some bench scrapers, some spatulas, aprons, rain gauges, and more. So if you have any questions, we do have a great FAQ sheet on our website under the recognition program. And I'm also excited and eager to answer any questions that you might have as well. I would also like to share with you some of the resources that we have available for free, downloadable on our website. We have toolkits that represent each pillar of Farm to School, including the Ag and Nutrition Education, Procurement, School Gardens, and Farm DECE. These toolkits are really great for learning how to get started in those different pillars of Farm to School, resources that can be downloaded from these toolkits, recommendations, guidelines, hands-on applications, how to involve your community, success stories, and more. So I encourage you to take a look at those. If you are just starting out or if you are trying to build a sustainable program, I encourage you to check out those downloadable toolkits. We also have a buyer's guide. We do have hard copies that can be mailed to you. So if you would like to sit and read through a buyer's guide, I can definitely mail that to you. But this is also housed online with our producer directory map that is kept up to date. So the hard copy isn't updated as often, but you can find this information on our website. If you are a producer who's on the call and you're interested in selling to schools, or you already do sell to schools and you're like, hey, I don't think my information has been added on there, please feel free to submit your information and we can add it to the website for you very quickly and easily. We have also added a map category under the produce directory map. We've added a category for field trips. So if you are a school or a producer, both, who are either excited about hosting a field trip or excited to plan a field trip, you can look on our map to see if there are farms that are providing field trip opportunities near you. We tried to add in different information about what those field trips would maybe have, different activities that they would have, or which grade levels they really target. Another resource that I'm really excited about is our Harvest of the Month database. So we now are working to refresh, but we have been able to add new lessons and activities, as well as videos for our classroom teachers that have been aligned with Indiana State Learning Standards. So I encourage you to get on our website, check out the Harvest of the Month database under our education category, and look at those new resources that have been added, so that maybe you can implement Harvest of the Month in this next Farm to School month. And last but not least, we do have our webinar recordings, and this meeting will also be added to that for those who have missed it or who would like to just have a refresh. But we have new webinars that will be in the works in the next year or so, and you can always find those recordings on our website. All right, and before I introduce you to our presenters, if you have any questions or are looking for additional resources or support, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here to support you through all of your Farm to School adventures, and I also encourage you to check out our social media pages where we share updated resources, events, and other opportunities that, for you to get involved. Next up, I would like to introduce you to Megan McKinney Cooper from Jump In for Healthy Kids. She is eager to share some of the wonderful resources and opportunities that her organization provides for those who are working in the early childhood education space. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing so that way Megan can share. We will also have an opportunity for questions at the end.
Thanks so much, Brianna. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank
Great.
you.
Well, I will share my screen now as I have slides to share with you. I'm only going to take a few minutes, but I want to introduce you to and make you aware of something that you may not be aware of right now. I know all of you work in farm to school space and have considerable knowledge about it, but you may not be aware of what is going on in the farm to ECE space across Indiana. And my organization leads that work in partnership with a couple of other organizations. So I'd like to just share with you what we're doing. And that way, if you know of any childcare providers or childcare coaches or systems who may be interested in this kind of work, we want to make sure we are always reaching out and trying to activate and engage even more people in it. So let me start by sharing that we have been offering, and but when I say we, I mean a group of partners, primarily Spark Learning Lab. Those of you who do any work in early childhood in Indiana are familiar with Spark. It is the company that is contracted by the state to provide all of the technical assistance and a lot of professional development training for childcare providers of any kind across just about any topic you can think of. And it is, of course, free for providers and supports all of their work in improving quality. So we have been offering learning collaboratives in Farm to ECE. We are in the middle of the second one. The first one was in gardening, and we offered that in the spring into the summer. We're in the middle of our food and farming education, and we will be offering our procurement unit sometime in the beginning of 2024. I will say that we've had incredible responses when recruiting for these learning collaboratives. The initial learning collaborative filled up and had a wait list. The second one filled up and has a wait list. And the second one has 11 of the 15 spaces are taken by returning providers. So they went from gardening straight into food and farming education. So they're really getting a lot out of it and are very enthusiastic. These learning collaboratives are primarily virtual. They include live virtual sessions. There is some in-person coaching where appropriate. And the content is created by Nemours Health and is implemented using the Go Knapsack tool. And I'm going to explain what the Go Knapsack tool means. Well, thanks to our friends at the State Department of Health, Indiana is a Go Knapsack state. Over half of the states in the country use Go Knapsack, and Go Knapsack is a tool for integrating all kinds of healthy best practices. So not just Farm to ECE, but nutrition, physical activity, screen time, outdoor play. It even has a unit on oral health now, and they're developing one for social emotional health. But it is this evidence-based tool created by the University of North Carolina that really is sort of the gold standard for this kind of work. If you're familiar with the WISC model in schools, this looks kind of similar. This is how Go Knapsack works. So providers use the Go Knapsack tool to create an assessment for themselves. They plan and they set some goals. There's an action period. They then do a reassessment, and they keep the cycle up to continue embedding healthier best practices in their work. You can see in the inside of that circle all the different learning units. Farm to ECE is one of 7, and these are all of the healthy best practice units that we're always working to try to embed in early childhood environments. So Farm to ECE and the whole child. Go Knapsack is created similar to the WISC model to support whole child development. And so it shares a little bit about how it impacts all of these other pieces of learning and development that may not be obvious at first, but are certainly important and significant pieces of it. Let's see. Oh, my examples just went away. Somehow on my slide, my examples disappeared, but you know some of the best practices in the Farm to ECE work, so I don't have to take you through it, but we had examples of some of the implementation. I'll just skip ahead so we don't, oh, here we go. Didn't go away, it was on my timing. So, you know, variety of local fruits and vegetables, communicating about local fruits and vegetables, engaging with locally grown options, including, you know, retail or farming or gardens. and of course, trying new foods and learning about new foods. And a variety of activities, being outside, learning how to grow, learning about gardening. And now we come to opportunities for you. So in addition to the learning collaboratives that we offer, Go Knapsack is a tool that's available to providers all the time, and they can do self-guided work in Go Knapsack. Spark Learning Lab has coaches that are available to help at any time, so we don't need a formal 12-week process. If we have an interested provider, they can go ahead and start working, and if they'd like some support, Spark coaches are trained to provide it in this. So I have some email addresses here. If you know of anybody who is interested or if you have questions, number 2 is Marcia Hearn-Lindsay. If you have interested providers, she's the person to talk to. If you have questions about this for me or are interested in doing any kind of our statewide stakeholder farm to ECE or any kind of healthy early childhood work, please be in touch with me. And thank you. And those are my slides. So I'll close out of this. And if you have questions, please feel free to ask.
Wonderful. Thank you. Next up is Annie Eakin. She's a community wellness coordinator from Purdue Extension. As well as joining her is Whitney Schlegel, who is from Monroe County, who works at IU Bloomington, as well as a local producer who's worked closely with Annie Eakin on the school to farm field trip. So I will go ahead and let you go ahead and take over, Annie.
Okay, I think that my screen is being shared now. Thanks for letting us present what we've been doing in Monroe County here today. We appreciate it. I believe that Whitney is also here with us. We first did a poll that I think, Brianna, do you have that? We have another question.
Yes, we see all these polls. I'm getting pretty good at this. Okay, let's see here. Can we go ahead and launch it? Okay.
Let's see if you guys, oh yeah, that one looks better than the last one. So we
Okay.
just wondered who is on our call today. So just choose one that might represent you the best and submit it just so we have an idea of our audience. Whitney, do you want to take over?
Yep. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, my video is, I'm having some problems with my video, but excited to be here. So we wanted to, so we have the, everybody's done the poll and we're moving on just to give our session overview today. And we wanted to share with you our, what we call our School to Farm project, which is taking third grade elementary school students to local farms in Monroe County. And so we're going to have a, Annie's going to walk us through a project summary. We're in our second year of doing this and walk us through what we've learned from our first year, the partnerships that we had in the community, and some of the project updates. And then we're going to put a framework around it for place-based education and talk about how this program is situated in within place-based education and how we can use this to make co-curricular connections with students. And then we're going to talk about how to design a place-based education experience, and then give you an opportunity to think about how you might do that in your own communities, leveraging the different assets and community partners that you have. And we'll do that in some breakout rooms, and then come back and share our ideas and have an opportunity for questions.
Okay, I know Brianna introduced us already, but I do want to kind of go back and say that I'm a community wellness coordinator with Purdue Extension Nutrition Education Program, and I serve Lawrence, Monroe, and Brown counties. And in my job, I work to help people with limited resources get access to healthy food and physical activity. But also, I wanted to mention Whitney has many hats. Whitney, would you introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. So I, as Brianna said, I'm a producer, and that we own and operate a farm here in Monroe County, Marble Hill Farm. It's a diversified livestock farm. I'm also a professor, a biology professor at IU, and I also work with the Center for Rural Engagement in helping with faculty leadership and development with the Center for Rural Engagement and connecting faculty out in the various communities throughout the state of Indiana.
Thanks. And I thought it was important to kind of talk a little bit about what we do so that I can then come to say that sometimes things just kind of have to align correctly, but the best projects happen when we have the best people in the room. And I don't mean to say there aren't good people there all the time, but just to say that, you know, the best partnerships make the best things happen. So the Monroe County Farm School to Farm field trips were fantastic experience for the farmers, for the partners, for the kids, parents, and students. And we just had so much fun doing it last year that we are continuing it again in 2023. So a little bit about the 2022 field trips. That was the first year we were able to conduct these field trips. We were able to engage third graders at Monroe County's Community School Corporation Title I schools. So that was a lot of kids who are free and reduced lunch students. And we got some funding from the city of Bloomington from a grant that they held that they needed to get some movement on making this project happen. And they actually were only had the funding to engage 7 of the schools. So we were able to have another partner that we added. The Rotary Club provided funding for the other 2 schools to do this. So we ended up with all 7 Title I schools. MCCSC is the one who said, hey, we are glad you can do 5. Can we do the 7? And so we were able to do that. So the total funding for last year was $15,760. And we ended up going to 3 different farms in Monroe County on 9 different field trips through September and October of 2022. And roughly those lasted between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. Kids really are on the farm for 2 to 2.5 to maybe 3 hours in total, but the amount of time it takes us to conduct the field trips actually ends up taking 3.5 to 4 hours. And then just some of our partners were Monroe County Soil and Water, and I'll talk agriculture, nutrition, physical activity, and local food. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. Just to give you an idea of what we did on these field trips, and we didn't realize how impactful it was when we were planning it in 2022. But when we had the teachers come to the farm, it really was surprising to some of us to hear the teachers say, wow, this is great. They're really learning something. And we thought, well, of course they are. Why would they come on a field trip if they're not going to learn something? Well, we really intentionally planned these field trips so that the kids could learn different topics about agriculture, food, and farming that related to the things they were also learning in the classroom or that they would be learning in the classroom. So it was an intentional planning of the field trips to relate that to things that they were going to be doing or learning in the classroom in 3rd grade. We had 3 to 5 stations that were programmed in that way that the kids would rotate through during the course of the day. And those, like I said, they were aligned with their things that they're learning, but STEM activities or STEM learning outcomes. And then since the field trips took some time out of their day, they did bring in lunch with them. And we had a bunch of educational materials that we packed and then sent home with them on the bus. And a lot of those educational materials were provided by the Monroe County Farm Bureau and some also from the Monroe County 4-H. So it's didn't end on the farm at all. We also provided food for the kids. At one of those 3 to 5 station was always a nutrition education station. So Purdue Extension Nutrition Education Program, we have nutrition education program advisors who teach nutrition and physical activity. So we had them come, and the nutrition education program advisors came to every field trip and provided the education on nutrition, and then gave the kids a snack. And last year they ate parfaits, fruit and yogurt and granola parfaits. So that's the one picture there that's on the furthest to the left. I believe it's for you. And then we also wanted to engage the local food portion. And so we were purchasing produce at the farm that we then were able to give the kids to take home. So we kind of waited usually until the end of the day to let them self-select their own produce, or hand them the produce that we had already packed in bags, because some of the times we just had apples or pears that we gave them. So they could take it home, eat it on the bus for a snack, or share with their families, which is what we really love for them to do, is share that produce with their families so that they can have some of that. So some more, another part of this field trip, again, not that we didn't want to leave the experience on the farm. We were able to tell the teachers that they could have some funding from the grant to then purchase materials to do an activity in school that we would hope that would relate to the field trip that they took on the farm. So every school, I think we had $100 to $150 per school that I was able to purchase different materials and supplies for the teachers to use in the classroom for the kids. And this was one of them. At one of the schools, they made bread, homemade bread, and then they made their own butter. Other schools, we bought growing kits or different things for their gardens. So they took that experience in the farm and brought it back into the classroom months later. And then we did, really, in order to get some feedback, we did a very, very quick survey at the end, and just to kind of say, did you really like it? Was it a good time of year? And would you want to do it again? It's very basic, but we got that quick survey from them doing a little an evaluation. So that's some of the information about the farm field trips. I also wanted to talk about the partnerships, as I started to in the very beginning. Monroe County Community School Corporation. In this picture, in fact, we had some high school students who were in the National Honor Society who came on the field trips to volunteer. So we had that. We had the city of Bloomington with some of the funding and came to visit some of the field trips. Purdue Extension, we had the Purdue Extension office, ag educators, health and human sciences educator, our 4-H educator, and myself. We were all involved. 3 local farms there, New Ground, Marble Hill, and Sobra Mesa. And then IU Health Bloomington Hospital. That's Lisa Greathouse there for in the taking the selfie. She is with IU Health Bloomington. And Monroe County Soil and Water Conservation District was at a number of the field trips doing some NPK education. And Hoosier Hills Future Farmers of America came to a number of them. So we were able to get some other high school students to come and maybe mentor some of the kids. Rotary Club had some volunteers come to our field trips, and the Monroe County Indiana Farm Bureau. Not only did they provide education, but they came to the field trips. Rachel Peden McCarty is also in that picture. She's part of the Farm Bureau and a farm owner in Bloomington. So those are some of our partners. So I already mentioned we were able to continue these field trips again in 2023 because we had so much enthusiasm around them. We did not have the funding. So at some point, I think I was talking to all my partners through the winter months, and then I said, you know what, I think we've got a lot of momentum here. We're just going to go for it. We're going to go ahead and plan it. And so we planned the field trips again this year. We were able to get funding through 3 different avenues. So we cobbled it together this year, and we're making it work. The Monroe County Community School Corporation still has 7 elementary schools, 3rd graders, but they have more kids in 3rd grade this year. So we're doing 10 field trips. and we added an extra farm. We want to continue to expand the amount of farms in Monroe County that that kids can visit as long as they're within like a 20 to 25 minute driving range. So we have 4 farms, and then our partner list got a bit smaller, although I'm excited that the Area Health Education Center scholars are going to be joining us this year. And so that'll be college students coming to help on the farm. But we have the extension again, IU Health Bloomington, Lisa Greathouse is there, Monroe County Soil and Water Conservation District's going to be at almost all of them this year, and the Monroe County Indiana Farm Bureau. So they are also providing the funding for all the transportation for all the field trips this year. Grant funding also came from a grant from Duke Energy that Monroe County Community Schools applied for and got. But the largest amount of our funding came from a grant from Monroe County Council. The Sophia Travis Community Service Grant is providing the largest part of our funding. So we are able to make that work, and excited to be able to do that this year. So these 2 pictures are from the field trips we had last week at Silver Mesa. We had 3 last week, and we have 7 to go in October. It's a whirlwind, but lots of fun. Okay, so looking forward, we've again, I've said a few times how exciting these are, how much enthusiasm we think we have. We feel like we can continue to make these more robust and get them to be more sustainable for future years, and sustainable in funding and in putting them into the curriculum. So these are the partners that we feel like we will be engaging in the future more, or newly engaged. Monroe County Schools, and we have 2 school corporations in Bloomington or in Monroe County. So we hope to continue to work with Monroe County's community schools, as well as potentially the other school system, Richland Bean Blossom in Ellettsville in Monroe County. We think food service, Monroe County Food Service will be a great partner. They will be attending one of the field trips this year. More local small farms, more community partnerships, partners with teachers, and curriculum development. That's definitely Whitney's wheelhouse. I think that we can engage the teachers more, as well as the superintendent of curriculum. So we hope to have that person to work with to get that to be like a sustainable thing for the community. And then grant funding and support and sponsorship are the biggest area in which we need to help make those sustainable. And we plan to apply for the Farm to School grant, the National Farm to School grant, come January. So let's see here. Is that it, Whitney? Yeah. So I think if I didn't forget anything, Whitney, I think I'll let you take over.
That's great. A wonderful overview of all the exciting things that have gone on and that are currently going on. And now we kind of want to put a framework around the whole project. Again, as I said, we kind of refer to this as place-based education, and that has lots of meanings to different groups of people. And we have a number of educators on our call, and we have we have school food service staff and state agency. So we have a lot of people that really that we can leverage to offer our students some really rich local experiences. And so as we move forward, we kind of want to think about, what do you think place-based education means? And so that would be in our next slide. And so in the chat, when you hear place-based education, what do you think of, and what does that mean for you? Whether you're an educator or a food service person, a community with a community organization, what does place-based education mean to you? Would you give us some ideas that you have in the chat?
Those are some good answers. Whitney, can you see them?
Yes, I can. Those are wonderful answers. So some of the things that we're seeing are that they're authentic, taking place outside the classroom, real, so that the real world experiences, they're based on local experiences and local resources. And and that really, all of those responses embody what we think about as situating our learning in authentic and contextual environments that offer a sense of place and that allow for students to really connect with the community. And so one of the wonderful things about place-based education is for them to make lots of connections through contextual learning. And so a definition that is out there is on the slide, that immerses students in local heritage, cultures, landscapes, opportunities, and experiences, and that uses these as a foundation to study across the curriculum. And so we rooted our experience in small local farms. And this, not only are they learning about agriculture and food, but they're making connections with the community geographically. And you can move to the next slide. And they're also allowing for new understandings through their experiences on the farm and developing new ways of thinking as they have an opportunity to work with animals, to work in growing situations, to talk with farmers, and to just be out in the environment where we can draw from all different types of examples. And their questions probably reflect the experience that they're having the most, and that is their curiosity and their and excitement for many of them new experiences. And I always like to share a experience that a student had on our farm several years ago, where we have apple trees. And a young student came up and tugged on my shirt and said, "You know, you have apples in your trees?" And I said, "Oh, yes, yep, we have a very good crop of apples this year." And he said to me, "But that's, who put them there?" And so for that student, for that young person, they thought that the apples came from the store, and that they were in the refrigerator, and that they had no sense of where they grew, and thought that someone had placed them in the tree as kind of a joke, or and so it's I think the connection that students can make with where their food comes from, and the animals that are found on the farm can offer new ways for them for looking at the world and new understandings. And teachers feel supported when they're out in partnership and when we're working with teachers as community members of the community in place-based education. And that allows for drawing those connections across the curriculum for them. And then community also becomes much stronger stakeholders and supporters. We have lots of parents that come as chaperones on the field trips, and so they have an opportunity to see the assets that we have in our community, to see the student learning that goes on the farm, and so this is allows for them to be greater supporters of K through 12 education. So contextual, connected, and engaged learning. And then the types of learning outcomes that one can think about that might be unique to the farm education experience are our understanding how we care for the land and livestock, the stewardship that goes on for the environment. And last year, the word we tried to, or the understanding and that we tried to bring all of our students around was the regenerative farming and regenerative agriculture. And what does regenerative mean? That was the word that we tried to introduce as a way of helping them to understand how it is that farmers care for the land, and how that when you care for the land, you are able to grow food and care for the environment simultaneously. And the seasonality, we had a chance to talk about what grows when, and then local food, where you can find local food. We talked about markets, and we had an opportunity to talk about the different agriculture professionals, so that they were interacting with the farmers and interacting with, we also have our health and community professionals that were there as well, so that there was just a really rich integrative experience that allowed for the students to gain some new understandings, but also they could connect those to the classroom. So in the next slide, we can kind of see how as Annie said, we were very intentional about the way that we organized our field trips. And we looked at the third grade science curriculum standards, and these are just some of them that can be, that were addressed in the context of the different stations that occurred on the different farms, that allowed for the students to make connections with what they were learning in the classroom, then learning that out on the farm. And we hope moving forward that that's going to be the area that we really get to focus in on, and that is to really help to be more intentional about how we can help with the curriculum standards that are in the classroom, how we can connect those to our school to farm experience for the students. So as we designed the experience, we think about using backward design, always looking to, so at the end of this experience, what would we hope students would know and be able to do? And so that's kind of guided us as we thought about how to pull together stations at the different farms, and how to integrate the curriculum, the classroom curriculum, with what was going on out on the farms. So what would it look like if students were able to connect what they were learning in the classroom with these authentic, relevant experiences in the community on our small farms? And what kinds of new understandings would students be able to glean from that? And so there's 3 steps in backward design, and we're just going to be very transparent that step number 2 is something that we have not yet engaged in. We did an evaluation, but we didn't look at student learning, but we would like to know more about that. And moving forward, we hope that that is one of the areas that we will be building upon. But we did intentionally outline some learning goals and then scaffold those learning experiences at each of the farms. And so we specifically wanted to connect with, our goals were to connect with some of the science standards, health and nutrition, and that students would have an understanding of where their food is grown and their fiber. So also we have, on our farm, we had sheep. And so it was also thinking about where your clothing comes from, as well as where your food is grown, and engaging them in activities that would allow for them to have that experience. So you can see in the picture there on one of the farms, the students had an opportunity to harvest carrots, and to also that farm has a farm stop, so that they were able to see how those carrots are then washed and packaged and ready for market. And they had a chance to even work with some tools. So that's another opportunity to do some hands-on. And so through the actual doing, they are learning. And so those were we were focused in on those step 1 and step 3, and hope that this moving forward, we'll be able to assess what students are actually learning, although we certainly could see from some of the products that this teacher shared with us that there was, after the field trips, that there was some real wonderful connections being made with what they were learning in the classroom, as well as what they learned on the farm. So then the next slide, what we'd like to do is give you an opportunity to think about in your neck of the woods, how you might leverage your community assets, your partnerships in your community, and so forth, to be able to offer your own unique place-based education, and how you would design that, starting first off with what your goals would be, and then or what your desired result would be for your students, and maybe also thinking about what age group you want to work with, and then give you a chance to think about what outside of your partnerships, what activities you might be able to offer, and recognizing that ultimately best practice is always going to include some type of assessment, and then planning for sustainability. But today, let's just kind of have a good time thinking about how we might be able to create these types of experiences in our own communities. And so that was the basis behind our first question, was what region are you in? So that we always want to keep it local. And so that was what we're gonna work on next, which is, these are the questions. So that designing your own place-based experience, what would it look like if students were able to connect what they were learning in their classroom about something with something? So that in our case, what would it look like if students were able to connect the learning in their classroom about the food, and with where that food is grown and how that food is grown, as an example of a goal. And so you can have many goals and outcomes, but you can think about what kind of connections you want to make with the classroom. And then what types of activities would engage students with your desired learning goals in the community. And this is where you want to think about what kind of partnerships you could leverage, and what kind of assets you have in your community. So we're lucky here in Monroe County. We have many small farms, and we have a wonderful large farmers market in Bloomington. And so that's an asset that we can leverage. And so what kinds of things do you have in your community? And it could, all communities are unique. And so you want, one of the key goals for your place-based education is to connect your students with community, and so that they not only gain an understanding relative to the classroom, but they also get a deeper understanding of where they live, and so that's a goal that we have. So with that, we are going to next have you go into breakout rooms, and I think that Brianna has those all set.
Yes, I think I do. There's just a few people who have not shared their region. So if I will give you a second real quick, if you were not able to complete the poll and you also did not add your region to the chat, I would just encourage you to do that now. And I will go ahead. I think the rest of you have been added to a breakout room. But they don't allow us to choose. I have to manually add you. So you can do that real quick and then we can go ahead and move into breakout rooms.
Hey, Brianna, are you still sending people?
Yeah, I have just a couple to add.
Okay.
Mhm. And then I can move it into breakout rooms. I think I have almost everyone in there. And if you did not choose a region, it'll just put you in one. So if it's not your region, you get to meet a neighbor region. So I think we're all set. It looks like, yep, I think I have you in there, Tammy and Abby. Okay, so whenever you guys are ready, I can go and open those. Is there anything else that we need to do before we do that?
So no, we just want to remind everybody so that what you want to do is talk in your region about some how you want to frame your learning experience. What are your goals for learning in your place-based education initiative, and what types of activities are you going to use to reach those outcomes? And as you're thinking about that, carefully think about the partnerships that could help you with that and the assets you have in your community.
Wonderful, thank you. I believe that I have a timer set for about 15 minutes. But as the polls went, you never know if that's going to work or not. So we will plan on closing out our breakout rooms around 4:15. Does that work for you, Whitney and Annie?
It's terrific.
Okay,
Yep.
wonderful. Well, we'll see you guys here in a bit. Enjoy.
Brianna, where do I go to pick? I'm having a hard time finding the.
Okay,
the
I
button
can
to click.
assign you real quick. Megan, let me see.
I
if
need to
you're
go
in.
the southern.
Okay,
Some
I will.
southern.
You want to do Southwest or Southeast?
Let's probably Southwest.
Southwest. Okay, perfect. You
And
should be
I need to
going there.
respond. I need to respond to your email. And I
Anderson
can.
and Kennedy, please
sorry.
come to the middle school office.
I can talk to you after the meeting too.
Okay.
That I had emailed you from Shoals, and I have some dates in mind, but they're next week.
Okay.
So I wanted to see if that worked out for you. If not, we can plan for after that too.
Perfect. All right.
Okay. Awesome.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Did it assign you then? Maybe.
Oh, yep. I see join room.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. And then Cynthia, were you interested in joining room, or Karen, or Pierre? That's fine. I can add you if you guys let me know what your regions are. Thank you, Karen. I'll go ahead and add you. It's assigning you, Karen, so it should give you an option to join. And then okay, thank you, Emma.
Uh-oh, where'd it go?
Mhm. Welcome back, everyone. Goodness, 15 minutes is just not quite long enough, is it? I know we were having it was just great to hear about the Southeast region, and it was even hard to pick a breakout room to join. So I know there's so many great things happening across the state. So I will go ahead and pass it back off to Annie and Whitney as they kind of wrap up their presentation, and then we will have a few minutes for questions and answers.
Right, Whitney?
Okay, yep. So what we'd like to do, I know there were, the conversations were rich and there were lots of wonderful ideas, and we'd like to try to capture those. And so while it says 1 to 2, you can share as many as you like. So as fast as you can type, we're going to use something called Mentimeter. And you can see there's a QR code as well as there's a user code that goes with the link. If you go to link your browser menti.com, you'll and then use that user code, you will get to the poll or the survey, and that's going to ask you the first question that you're going to see is, what learning goals did you discuss for your place-based education experience? And you can think about, what objectives are you seeking for your place-based education experience? And then the second question is going to ask, what activities support your place-based education experience? So what kinds of things did you come up with, or maybe assets in your community that you want to leverage to be able to engage students with? Either take a shot at that QR code, or go to the menti.com and then type in the code that you can see down there in the lower left-hand slide. And so we can kind of see as we're populating the first question, what learning goals did you discuss for your place-based education experience? It'll create a word cloud for us with all the different ideas.
I think in order to answer the second question, I have to close this one. So we'll just sit on this one and let the responses come in.
Okay. And again, if you can join from your phone or your browser on your computer, whichever is easiest for you. And you can do the menti.com and use the user code that's at the top there if you didn't catch the QR code.
Looks like this slide, the word apples came to people's minds. It's that time of year, isn't it? And field trips on this second slide.
So maybe if we go back to the first slide, Annie, and we can let's see some of our learning goals here, and have if there's anybody that would like to share their what they put up there, or maybe something that didn't make it up there that you'd like to share out on some of the what your group just talked about in terms of learning goals for your place-based education experience. Can they unmute themselves, Brianna? Oh, okay.
Hi, this is Alana. I just want to make a very quick comment. One of the things that hit me based on what the people in our breakout were saying were the different age levels. We often are thinking very young children or this under 12, but there were middle schoolers and high schoolers that some of the people in this group were making connections for a farming on site or farm on site learning.
I would also like to say that in our group, we talked about how do you make money with what you grow. So some kind of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, those are both wonderful. We also in the group that I joined, we also were talking about high schoolers, and so I think that yeah, and then the notion of financing and finance is a really important one in marketing, and those are things that are also one like part of entrepreneurship, but also just part of some life skills that are really important. That wonderful interdisciplinarity of the experience. So how about in terms of activities? What kinds of, did you talk about some specific field trip ideas and, what kinds of community partners came up in your breakout room discussions?
We talked about orchards and going on trips and then learning about the different apples and stuff that are being grown there.
I think a cool partner, at least in this city, would be kind of some of the urban farmers. So like Indie Urban Acres or Growing Places Indie. Just again, I was kind of thinking we were talking about the career-based kind of for the older kids, career-based learning. And that could just be a great option to, show kids that that's an option for a career, especially if you are kind of in the city.
Yeah, there's wonderful growing urban farms, and then also at the kind of we have at the federal and state level, we have urban soil health specialists, and we have urban small farm and urban farm folks that are both at the State Department of Agriculture as well as with the NRCS and Soil and Water Conservation Districts. So looking at maybe at that level also, and certainly with connecting with the marketing and financing of working with Indiana Grown on that component as well. I think there's some ways that we can draw the state into local, so to speak, going the other way.
I was going to mention, this is Sherry from the American Dairy Association, Indiana, and we're not in any specific region, so statewide, really. We have a web page kind of dedicated to activities for students, and they're all tied to the state standards in Indiana. So that is always, obviously, for us, it's a good way to kind of connect students with what's happening on a dairy farm. So those are always available at winnersdrinkmilk.com if, they're free resources to share out as you so choose. And then somebody also mentioned the state fairgrounds, which I thought was a really good idea.
And the state fairgrounds they run a number of specific education opportunities where they bring students to the state fairgrounds. Also,
Yes.
Yeah, those are what a wonderful resource, Sherry. That's great. So we would add
Hi, this is Cynthia Perkins from Lincoln. I had to step out for a minute to dismiss, but a couple of things that we do. We do support Kaleo Farms, which is an urban farm. And our 8th graders just got back from JobSpark. I don't know if the Dairy Association was part of that because I didn't attend this year, but our 8th graders go to JobSpark. And what that does, it promotes industry, agriculture, farming, everything that makes money in the state of Indiana. So if there are, we normally have somebody with live animals. Many of our teachers, our students haven't touched live animals, but also to climb into a combine. But that's just another connection we make with our kids, during the school year, but it only happens once a year, but it does expose them to that. I know that, we always participate in the Great Apple Crunch. And when the Dairy Association was talking, I thought, why don't we do something specific with ice cream bars and dairy like we do the Great Apple Crunch, just to promote it, maybe show a video that day or something. So, maybe the dairy can look at something that would promote a day like that, like we do the agricultural part of our, of our schools and exposure to something like that, where all the schools would participate, because the Great Apple Crunch has grown and it's really fun, but there's more to Indiana farm to school than just apples, but we do promote that one. So
yeah, we attend the JobSpark. We've done it a couple years in a row in central Indiana, and we're going to have representatives in the northern part of the state as well. And I think it's just the coolest experience because, like you said, some of the kids have never seen farm animals. We are strategically placed next to the animals, I think, and they bring a Jersey cow, and so many kids think it's a deer, and it's just really eye-opening. Like what you can teach these students and how you can really spark, pun intended, their interest in things that they never thought they would ever be interested in agriculture and other places too. So
I agree. It's pretty fun.
mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Whitney and Annie. That's a wonderful presentation and just really sparked a lot of interest, I think, in how we can engage our students outside of the classroom with those in their community and maybe even within their own school community. I appreciate everyone's input. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. It is 4:30. If you have questions or need additional support, please don't hesitate to reach out. I will drop my email in the chat. I have added our website to the chat, and you can also add your email as well if you would like for me to add you to our monthly newsletters where we share upcoming events, resources, news, and sometimes even some success stories. So I know that myself and our partners at IDOE plan to have farm to school office hours starting in November. We're hoping to have that the third week of November for about an hour for people to join in and ask questions or collaborate on a project, wherever we can support you. we would like to be able to do that. So thank you again for joining today. We truly appreciate your continued farm efforts towards Farm to School, and we are here to support you. Thank you, Annie and Whitney and Megan, if you're still on the call, for joining us and for giving up some of your time to present. It's just, there's so many great things that are happening across Indiana, and I wish we had more time to be able to continue to share and collaborate. Thank you all, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, Verena.
Thank you.